Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here, and today I'm doing a book haul. This is kind of a book haul slash TBR, so I've got some books that I wanted to haul, and then I've also got a stack of books that I'm reading for the Black Author Readathon, which is a romance readathon where you read books that are romances written by Black authors. And I noticed that I was very sorely lacking in that department, and so I bought myself some. I have since read some, so I'm not going to show you those because they will come up anyway in my wrap up for that, but I thought I'd show you the ones that I've still got left, and perhaps you will inspire me on which ones to read first via the comments. So let me know if you've read any of them. And in fact, I'll start with those and then I'll move on to the other ones that I've got. Okay, so these might not all look new because I don't always buy my books new. Some of them I buy secondhand. This one was one that was recommended by quite a few people when I was looking for romance authors. This is Love in Catalina, Cove by Brenda Jackson. I think this might be the start of a series. I've not read any Brenda Jackson before. This seems like a more wholesome romance rather than a steamy, smutty romance. And seems to be, it's set in Louisiana after a teenage pregnancy. I think it's about a girl that goes back to her hometown. And I don't know, I just love these books that are set by the sea. The idea of the cove makes me feel, yeah, I don't know, romance is in the air. And I love the picture on the front of this. I love books like this. I don't know if you've ever watched or read Nicholas Sparks' book. Well, quite a lot of them are set by the seaside, and I just love that. So yes, I've got this one. Next is a Behind the Bars by Brittany C. Cherry. So I wanted to give this one a go because I'd heard so many good things about it. It's got a sort of musical element, I believe. It's about a musician. Yeah, so he's the musician and she was the high school queen, and so this is sort of set years later in New Orleans when they must meet again. So this sounds like it might be a good one. And I think, oh, it says here the Music Street series, and I'm wondering as well, this might fulfill the prompt. I don't know if it's a mixed race couple, so that would be interesting. This one is If Only for the Summer by Alexandra Warren. This is a very interesting front cover. It's sort of really muted and sort of silhouetted out. This is about set in a school, about a woman who, I think she must work in a school. She must be a teacher. She's invited by her best friend to go to Miami for the vacation, and her best friend's husband has invited his friends to come along, and then fate collides. I think I've heard this one's quite steamy. This one is one that I'd not really heard of, and then I heard of it and I was like, I'm gonna give this a go. So this is me dipping my toe in the water of something I'm not quite sure I'm here for, but we'll see. It's called Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. This one is about Jafar, and I believe that these are super raunchy, perhaps BDSM, 50 Shades of Grey-esque storylines, but about villains from Disney films or Disney books. We'll see, won't we? The next one also has a musical element to it. It's called The Come Up. It says it's an afterwards novel. It's by Forrester. I saw this on someone's channel and they said they read it every year and that it was really good. And so I've put this on my list and I'm intrigued by this one. I don't know if it's to do with actual artists or whether it's to do with the people behind them, so like music producers, but it certainly sounds like it might be interesting, and I'm going on the recommendation. If someone reads a book every year, it must be worth it. The next one is a football romance. It is called Love in the Red Zone, and it's by Love Belvin, and this is not just a sports romance but also a romance between a professional football player and a single mother. cover, so I think that fits quite a few prompts on the bingo board that is going for this readathon. It says it's a Connecticut Kings book, so I think this must be part of a series. This next one is a younger audience, so this is set in high school where our main characters are just looking to go off to university. It's called Happiness in Jersey by Jacinta Howard. This, I believe, is about a girl who is desperate for her and her band to sort of make it big. They're looking, she's looking to go to South Texas University. She plays bass in her band, and she's got no time for a, you know, proper romance. She just has casual flings, but then someone comes into her life and sort of changes all that. And I think this is part of a series where we follow different band members and their relationships, so I'm here for that if it's any good. This next one I don't know too much about, but I do know that it's sort of a Hollywood style novel. It's called Thicken Water by Dylan Allen, and it's about a young woman whose book is being made into a Hollywood film, and there is a man from Hollywood. I don't know, it says he's one of the most powerful men in Hollywood, so I don't know if he's an actor or if he is something else, but they form a relationship, and you know, sex ensues probably. Okay, so let's talk about some of the other books that I've picked up. This first book is one that I've been meaning to read for ages, and it wasn't until Tracy said that she was reading it and how good it had been that I thought, well, okay, I'm going to pick this one up for myself now. And that is Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. I've got another book by Min-Jin Lee on my shelf called Free Food for Millionaires, but this one is the one that I want to start with, really. It's the one I've heard most about. I think it's a multi-generational Korean story, and it's about the history of a Korean family in Japan. So I think it should be really good, and I'm looking forward to picking this one up. This next one is a romance. It's called How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams, and it is, I believe, a story with a biracial couple, and it's about Naya, who is being convinced by her friends to go out, give up her sort of frumpy cardigan for the night, go out and it says let a guy buy her a drink, try something new and hook up with someone. And I'm sure the person she hooks up with, Jake, is going to be perhaps our male lead in this romance. I finally got my hands on Across the Green Grass Fields by Shauna Maguire. This is the next sort of novella in the Every Heart is a Doorway series, and I am loving this series. This one, I believe, is of a new person, so it's a new door the way that we're going through. Sorry, not yeah, it is the Wayward, not Every Heart is a Doorway series, it's the Wayward Children series. And this is about, apparently, Reagan, who finds herself into a doorway that asks her to be sure before swallowing her whole, and she must learn to live in a world filled with centaurs, kelpies and other magical equines, a world that expects its human visitors to step up and be heroes. I love any book in this series. I love following our original protagonists. I love it when we veer off a little bit. Shauna Maguire in this series has just really hit the sweet spot for me, and I can't wait to pick this one up. I recently read Law by Alexandra Bracken, and I really enjoyed it. I was never a fan of Alexandra Bracken's Darkest Minds series. It was okay, but it wasn't a love for me. But I saw she had a adaptation of one of her older books come out as a graphic novel, and I thought I'd give that a go. And it's called Brightly Woven, and you can see here it looks really good. I love the colours in this. It's a fantastic fantasy adventure, and I just think it sounds really fun. It's about a 14-year-old Sidel who is a talented weaver. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure it's not weaving. I'm sure it's going to be some sort of magical weaving, maybe weaving through time or something, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to giving this one a go. Another romance is Not the Girl You Marry by Andy J. Christopher. I love the fact that this has got a little dog on the front. Always a plus point. This is about Jack Nolan. He's a journalist and a gentleman, and unlucky in love. And then he's fed up with fluff articles and the app-based dating scene, so he strikes a deal with his boss to write a pièce de résistance, How to Lose a Girl. Easier said than done. When the girl he meets, Hannah, he's not sure he wants her to dump him. So this gives me vibes of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and I loved that. Oh, and it says here, sharp, smart and sexy and perfectly executed role swapped How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. So it's sort of a role reversal, and that was from Christina Lauren, so high praise indeed, and I really think this should be quite fun. I loved How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, so yes, fingers crossed for this one. And then the other books I've got are all non-fiction that I picked up. The first one is called A Knock at Midnight, A Story of Hope, Justice and Freedom by Brittany Barnett. I picked this up because it was on the long list for the BookTube prize. I'm not sure if it stayed on to the final list. It's not on my current category I'm judging, but I definitely wanted to pick it up nonetheless, even if it isn't one that I end up having to read, because it was just so interesting for me. It's about Sharanda Jones, a single mother, business owner, and like Brittany, black daughter of the rural South. A victim of America's devastating war on drugs, Sharanda has been torn away from her young daughter and was serving a life sentence without parole for a first-time drug offence. In Sharanda, Brittany saw haunting echoes of her own life as the daughter of a formerly incarcerated mother. As she studied this case, because she's a law student, she brings into focus this racial injustice that forms the core of America's addiction to incarceration, and she sets forth to try and gain her freedom. And I just think this is going to be really interesting, and I think the US justice system is just fascinating and also a very scary place. So I picked up that one. I also picked up this one. It's called Reef Life by Callum Roberts, an underwater memoir. I absolutely adore anything under the water. This one comes with beautiful illustrations all the way through. I mean, there's so many different I shouldn't say illustrations because they're not, they're photographs, but there's amazing photographs all the way through, and it says here it's the story of how Callum Roberts, one of the world's preeminent marine scientists, fell in love with the abundant rainforests of the ocean. It's a rich memoir of a life filled on the front lines of planetary change. And look at that. Oh, beautiful end papers as well. So I'm looking forward to that one. Another sea-based one is Fathoms, The World of the Whale by Rebecca Giggs. I love anything to do with whales or dolphins or orcas. This one says that when she encountered a humpback whale stranded on her local beach in Australia, she began to wonder how the lives of whales might shed light on the condition of our seas. What I really love is people taking sort of almost like a memoir, but also then looking past and they tell us about the incident that caused them to want to research these things. And I really prefer non-fiction in more of a conversational style, so I'm hoping that those two specifically are going to be like that, because I find sometimes when they're bogged down with too much science, it loses me and I don't get as much from them. And then the final one is, I think, going to be quite a hard-hitting one. I think it's going to probably end up on the final list for the BookTube prize, given how many people I've seen that read it last year and loved it. It's called Notes on a Silencing, a memoir by Lacie Crawford. This, I believe, is about a young girl who was assaulted. Yeah, it says, when the elite St Paul's School came under investigation after extensive reports of sexual abuse on campus, Lacie Crawford thought she had put behind her the assault she'd suffered decades before when she was 15. Still, when detectives asked for victims to come forward, she sent a note. I've heard this is very moving and quite upsetting, but I think it's an important book to read. And after reading Chanel Miller's memoir, I really think that there's a lot of importance in books like these, and it's important for us to read them and shed light on these things and to discuss them and to allow the people who have suffered from this time to heal and time to share their story if that's what they need to help them to heal, because I don't think you ever really forget or get moved past these things. I think the best you can do is try and heal from them, and yeah, I think they're really important for us to read and to try and learn from and make sure those mistakes don't happen again. Especially for me, I don't know if this one's going to focus on that, but with Chanel Miller's, you know, raising awareness of how things are on university campuses, and you know, to discuss more about the victim and how the victim feels, and not focusing solely on the perpetrator of these crimes, because they so often get the you know, all the media attention, all the background checks, oh, they were this, they were that, and everything about them. And what about these people, these poor people that are having to live with what's happened to them for the rest of their lives? It doesn't just go away when the court case finishes. You know, that it's not like, oh yeah, well, put that in a box now and it's all gone. they have to live with it forever, and I think it's really important for us to be thinking about that and reading about that and educating ourselves and trying to make a difference. So yes, that's all the books. Lots there for me to be moving on with. Let me know with those romance ones that I mentioned at the beginning which ones I should start with first. I've still got sort of half a month left to be reading them, so I'd be interested if you gave any of these 5 stars or any that you really loved that you think I should be yeah, focusing on first. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.